My name is Joey Colvin. I'm a content marketing manager at mParticle. And on behalf of the team, I'd like to say thank you for tuning in to get your flywheel in motion with Data Master. We have some great new features to discuss today, so we're really excited to share it all with you. Speaking, we'll have Shabi Syed, Head of Product Marketing at mParticle, and Kale Bogdanovs, Product Marketing Manager at mParticle. Shabi joined mParticle in June 2009 and was previously a senior member of the product marketing team at Redis Labs. Kale has been at mParticle for 3 years, first as a technical writer, before moving into the product marketing manager role in September of 2019.
Thanks a lot, Joey. And thanks everybody for joining the webinar today. Well, let's go and dig into defining what a customer data flywheel is. If you want to collect customer data from an app or from a website or from an OTT device, it all comes down to having a strategy on what type of data is going to be collected, whether through an SDK, through an API, a webhook, or you want to bring in a customer data that you already hold within your organization through a batch ETL process. The next step is orchestrating the data pipeline, which is essentially the idea of taking that data and making it actionable across different systems and applications to send out whatever engagement or user engagement scenarios that you want to create for your users. So as that data comes in, you obviously want to build segments. You want to understand which of the different cohorts apply for different categories. And also at the same time, you have some analytics running to really understand new user behaviors that you may not have noticed before. So you try to start using AI and ML to really start to look at your customer base that's engaging with your brand and be able to identify what those different behaviors are and how could they mean in getting you to innovate and continuously experiment in building new experiences. So as you go through this flywheel, as you can imagine, this has to be backed up with good quality data. Because at any point, if the data quality is hampered or is not something that it's trustworthy, it has a lot of downstream effects. So the most prominent cases where we see a lot of data quality issues are initially kind of setting up the collection process, where if you have multiple stakeholders, you have developers or cross-functional teams that are engaged, how do you make sure that everybody works together, and how we call it at mParticle, data as a team sport, to be able to really make sure that you have a cohesive strategy. And it's supported by tools within the platform, not just spreadsheets or having an ad hoc project being curated to get those data points collected. And then second, if your data pipeline is just kind of a dumb pipeline, it doesn't give you intelligent ways to transform the data or have rules applied, then it starts to really get into that, is the data you're collecting even becoming meaningful or not? And that's where you're downstream of like building audiences or that analytics engine or that personalization engine that you have downstream. All of that starts to act in a way that's not conducive to a good engagement with your brand. So with that in mind, if you look at in terms of a CDP, which are the primary personas that we deal with in and out every day, servicing hundreds of customers, they're primarily like 3 roles: a growth product manager, a growth marketer, and a data engineer that are kind of very vested in making sure that data quality is maintained across all the different pieces of the customer data pipeline. And the way that kind of we see that as a formula is that you have to have a continuous data quality. It's not like a one and done thing that you forget about. Obviously, there are tools in the platform that help you support to kind of build that continuity, but it has to be something that you as a team go back and look at every so often. And then you've got to have comprehensive data governance. There are a lot of regulations in place. There are a lot of stuff around PII, what you can collect, what you cannot. There's consent management. So being able to have that strategy that kind of builds on these 2 pillars, that is going to get you that exceptional business value that you really can show how innovation happens around experiences that you create with your brand. Now, all of that said, what we do know is that in most organizations, the data does not meet a lot of quality standards. There's a lot of reasons for that, but primarily it's like just poor data quality right from the onset, incomplete data, errors, siloed implementations. That if you have one set of data points being collected from your website, but another set of data points being collected from your mobile app, then it starts to, have it doesn't have an overlap. So how can you have like that strategy of commingling that data to really get insights that are valuable? And then human mistakes. I mean, a lot of times there are implementation mistakes, or somebody coded in or typed in a wrong data point name that you were looking to collect, and maybe the downstream systems don't recognize that. All of that needs to be in a place where you can start to really get value from your data. And then around data governance, we also know that a lot of organizations are still trying to figure out. There are regulations that are changing. There are constant, different ways that, different regulations impact. Obviously, these days it's CCPA. In the future, it could be, other federal, in the US at least, other federal governance regulations that could come down, or each state having their own regulations. So being able to adapt to those regulations very quickly and be agile is really important, because what you don't want is having those things hamper what you really want to do, which is deliver exceptional experiences to your people that are engaged with that. And one other thing that we also notice is that data is a sensitive topic. Like, different teams have different value that they want to generate out of the data. And a lot of these teams are siloed within organizations, right? I mean, the data analysts report to maybe a BI, team within your company. You may have product managers that are reporting to the product team. You may have marketers that are reporting to the marketing team. They all have different initiatives that rely on good quality data. And a lot of times, if you don't have that cross-team collaboration, you're going to have data brawls, right? You're going to have where, people like, developers, analysts, PMs just don't have a way to really easily determine, like, even simple things as like, how are we collecting app events? And how does that apply to my campaign? Or how does that apply to that personalized, experience that I want to create in a product? Or finally, that we're running analysis on our customer base to really identify new cohorts of customers that might be new, economic buyers from our brand. How can we find that data if that data is not, collected in a cohesive way? So having that cross-team collaboration is something that we encounter a lot at mParticle when we are dealing with different brands, that different stakeholders have different requirements. But the data strategy needs to be a cohesive strategy that starts off with everybody's input. So with that, let's take a step back for those of you that have joined, brand new and not familiar with mParticle, as to what we do at mParticle as a company. So we started about 7 years ago. We have had multiple world-class brands that have, reached value for their building the data pipelines within mParticle's platform. And then we are based, globally around, 3 offices here in New York. Also, we have a presence in Europe. And then we have certified partnerships with some of the leading marketing automation tools and marketing clouds that are available, so that we can get you started pretty quickly with your new intelligent data pipelines. What we do is that we provide a CDP offering. So our CDP offering has 4 platform components, and we'll dig into each one of them. But there's data infrastructure to really have that underpinning of scalability and getting you those billions of events collected very quickly and in a way that you can start to build on top of them. Having data quality as a core pillar means that we have tools in the platform for you to really make sure that data quality is checked and balanced at every single instant of that pipeline that you're creating, even down to like what type of data that you're sending down to your partners. And then data governance to really have granular control over what do you want to control being sent to Facebook or Google or any other platform, and being able to do those toggle switches of like how many identifiers you want to send, how much data you want, event data you want to send in terms of the data you're collecting. That whole idea around being that you don't want your data to be, seeped into these third parties that, may have breaches or may in the future may not, value your data as much as you do. And then finally, data-driven personalization are our premium features that we offer on top of our core CDP capabilities for those advanced use cases that you would really like to do. So let's dig into each one of them and see how you can find value from a CDP. So the first one is data infrastructure. So we help you with the orchestration of the pipeline, which is all your inputs, outputs. We have, hundreds of ways where you can send data out to different partners, and these are unlimited integrations that we provide. There is no cost to them. Once you become an mParticle customer, your outputs that you can go see in our website under integrations, we have hundreds of ones that are listed out of the box. We provide a variety of ways for you to get data into mParticle. And then on top of that, we provide standard audiences and the way for you to build a single user profile as part of the core platform. And that includes, ability to do data filtering and forwarding and developer tools. What that means for us is that across the board within our platform, because we are a SaaS, provider, we are a cloud-based platform, we're doing billions of events across our customer base, across our different, partners that we're sending data out to, and with an uptime SLA that's an industry standard. So when you sign up with an mParticle CDP, you really get that scalability and that, that ease of use, and also the ability to have that confidence that we are going to be able to, tailor your experience for billions of events that you want to collect across your digital properties, and being able to have that data sent out in a consistent way across your marketing or MarTech ecosystem. Obviously, all of that is not done if you don't have accurate and consistent data. So we have tools like Data Master, very industry leading identity resolution. So we have different ways that we collect identity. Obviously, today's topic is Data Master, so we'll dig into that a little bit more. But around identity resolution, so all the different ways that first-party data gets collected around digital properties, whether there's IDFA, device data, device IDs, or it's actual logged in or anonymous users, being able to curate with whatever identifier you're working with, that single user profile, then also over time automatically merges identities based on different devices or other engagement areas. Like we have a lot of customers who also use streaming applications, and they may have people engaging with them with their brand on social media, but then also through a streaming app like Hulu or others that may be available. So how do you tie in all that data into that single user profile that you can go in and really pick out to say, okay, this is what this profile means, and this is my target customer. And where it comes into play is obviously building really, really strong audiences that you can stand behind and know what that audience data is going to help you with better engagement with those users. And then we have the user aliasing API, which is kind of an advanced use case where we give control over to our users to really, to developers, to really be able to like combine identifiers if they know that their digital properties are also gathering data that mParticle may or may not be able to recognize. So really a full-fledged experience around maintaining accurate and consistent data and building those profiles in a way that really how your brand would want to really know at a very intimate level who is engaging with you. Again, we as a scale, we collect billions of identities that we resolve across the board for our customers. We see almost 4.5 billion devices every month that are engaged with us, almost 50 billion user sessions. And then with an average uptime SLA around all that, that's industry standard as well. And then data governance, really to kind of put you at ease around regulatory compliance, security standards, PII data protection, data center isolation. So which is like, if you want to pick a new region, anywhere in the world where you want, to abide with local data, rules and regulations, we can have and give you mParticle right there, which is close to your customer base within that region, and then also protects your data in the shape and form that those particular countries or regions would want for you to protect that data. And then we also have, obviously out-of-box integrations with consent management tools like OneTrust to be able to really have that concise way of being able to know which users do want to have their data stored and which users do not. So you have full ability to be able to tailor to their wishes and requirements. And then our premium features, which are around giving you real-time audiences. So being able to like curate audiences right down to in milliseconds. So a lot of times like use cases for that are to, react to like things like think about, running campaign on Super Bowl, and you have to like do a targeted, campaign on social media really, really quickly right after your advertisement. That is the type of stuff that really helps kind of drive real-time traffic, and also to curate experiences as people are engaging with your product. You may have a consumer app that has billions of people or millions of people engaging and generating billions of events. How do you curate an audience very quickly and be able to target them in app? That's what we provide with that real-time audience. And then we have calculated attributes that we recently launched to really able to compute and maintain variables. So for marketers and product managers that may not want to like send and offload a lot of these analytics down to their BI tool or Looker, they can actually calculate those entities within mParticle and then apply them on top of audiences, apply them in the user profiles, send or forward them out as events attributes out to partners, and then be able to append that data from third-party sources, which is our integration with LiveRamp, which is a strategic partner of ours, to be able to get information from their identity graph and being able to supplement an mParticle profile with it. So you now have first-party, second-party, third-party data infused within that single profile for you to be able to build very comprehensive audiences. And then Profile API is really our way to get data out of mParticle, right? So to get that entire profile out to where it needs to go. All right, so with that in mind, let's kind of jump into what Data Master is and how we can actually help and been helping a lot of these category leading brands that have been our customers for some time now. So Data Master is essentially a tool that kind of came out of us engaging with a lot of our customers and recognizing that what does that, for each project that you're doing, what does that ramp up time look like? What type of cross collaboration needs to happen? What type of different errors that we see within those early 30, 60 days of a project and the ones that we see routinely that we can really help our customers fix and address through the platform. And what it came down to was essentially, if you go back to that flywheel, is that now that those data quality issues that are happening at the collection phase or at the orchestration phase, we have this tool for you to manage and protect yourself from getting into the trap of having data quality issues. And the way we do it is through kind of a productized feature that is kind of comprehensive in really helping you build that quality data infrastructure. So we have the catalog, which is kind of your data dictionary, where you can go and actually define all the different data points that you want to collect, regardless of where they're coming from. But that's your glossary of everything that's from all the sources that are coming, bringing in data into mParticle. Then we have the concept of a plan that we'll talk more about that helps you identify on top of those data points a kind of a curated way of saying, this is my web data plan, this is my mobile data plan, this is my e-commerce data plan. So you can really kind of pigeonhole your entire strategy around what do I need to collect around an initiative, right? And it doesn't need to be just a source. It could be around an initiative to say, this is my personalization data plan, to really be able to say, like, these are the things that I care about across all devices or sources for a user to be able to curate an experience for them or build an audience for them. And then live stream is a way for you to kind of troubleshoot in a way that's more ad hoc. So as things are testing, things are coming in, we give you a live feed of like how events are flowing, so you can really capture or play back how things are happening in the platform. And then validation are our take on those errors that we see, which are very common, and giving you a way to kind of highlight them so you can take an action on them very quickly. So let's dig into each one of them a little bit more before we jump on with the demo with Kale. So the catalog, again, a centralized listing of all your data points. It's built as part of the platform under the Data Master tab. You can go in, and our data model is kind of around these 7 kind of pillars where you collect events with a tag of custom events or screen views or e-commerce events or user information data or application lifecycle, and you can drill into each one of them to be able to see what type of events are being collected. The next up is that basically to help you avoid those data brawls, that how do you start up with that cross collaboration? So we have this concept of a plan, which is an artifact that you can create within our Data Master tool that helps you basically say, these are all my data points that I want to collect, with this particular initiative in mind. So if it's, all my web data that's coming from all my digital properties, I want these things to be collected. And the big powerful concept around this is that once you create a plan, it's a living thing that's automatically trying to validate in real time how things are coming and being cross-referenced with this plan. And then we also have ways for you to kind of take this plan and share it across your team. So you can take this plan, download it into JSON, and share it with your developers and help them, code against this plan. You can also, in the future, we'll add capabilities so that developers would have just-in-time, capabilities, so that when they're working against the plan, if they're typing in attributes, it would automatically pull those attributes from the plan and be able to show them that, hey, you did not write first name with, just first name. It needs to be first underscore name. So those type of like human errors that come up, will be able to, help you fix and address them right at that contextual level. And then as you have the plan, once the plan is in effect, it starts to like automatically validate around data collection, rules engine, and then plan validation happens around, hey, this particular attribute and user behavior insight is coming from my website for this particular type of user, but it's not being attributed to a plan. So that means that you can evolve the plan and have different versions as you continue to evolve your strategy around collecting data for that initiative. We also collect invalid data points, so that something was hard-coded incorrectly, or that attribute example that I gave, like one of the ones that are one of our customers' favorite is that they coded first name as first name, and almost like 6 months passed and nobody captured that. And those type of things that we can really highlight to be able to identify in the plan artifact. And then finally, unplanned attributes, which are like stuff like in the payload that may be coming in that you may have not recognized that's now coming. Somebody made a change on the development side in app that now you're sending, instead of 10 data points, like 20 data points. So do you have a way to kind of identify them very quickly and being able to like highlight them and be able to take an action? And then finally, the plan helps you validate. So the errors that are coming in, we have a detailed report as part of each plan. So you can go and see in real time that, hey, right this instant, like what's happening, what type of things are being categorized as violations of the plan. And then you're able to take an action and then go back to the individual stakeholders to say, hey, product manager, you were looking for this particular thing, but it's coming up as a violation. Let's go ahead and address and fix it with the developers that are working with you. Or a data scientist may be looking at a particular value that contributes towards LTV or something. And then you can highlight here and say, hey, you better check your data, or let's fix it because according to our plan, that doesn't fit. So it kind of starts to give you that really good insight into how teams should work together. And in our practice, that's kind of what we do when we engage with you as a customer, that we have a dedicated CSM and a dedicated solutions engineer, and we're working with you to kind of help you identify these things. But now we'll also be able to support you from the platform itself so that you can actually have a way to kind of do it on your own, where our dedicated engineers will kind of help you kind of identify and fix them in a very quick and easy fashion. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kale, who's going to do a little bit of show and tell and get you some insight into how this all works.
Okay, guys, I'm just going to adjust my sharing settings here so I can show you a little bit more of what we're doing. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of a ride through our data master capabilities. So please keep your hands and arms inside the browser at all times. So I wanted to start by showing you our catalog, which was kind of the beginning of the data master product. And as you can see here, what the catalog really is just an inventory of all event data, all user data that we've actually received here. So anything that's ever been sent into mParticle, whether it's by API, from one of our mobile SDKs, from our web SDK, it all ends up here. And in any event that I've collected, I can also see, I'm able to provide descriptions, I'm able to tag it, I can see what attributes have been collected as part of the event, I can see what inputs it's come from, and I can also see any partners that it's been sent to. Here it's only one. But really what this is just like a complete inventory. And certainly, like when we've implemented these catalogs with the customers, we've had customers who are employing whole people just to be able to manage data inventory, to understand what personal data they're collecting, and most importantly, where it's going. So even just at the beginning of this product, you already have this great inventory of everything you're collecting, and importantly, who has access to it, what partners is it going downstream to. So I'm now going to show you a plan. The catalog is everything that you have accepted. A plan is a way of defining what data you want. And I've just created a small plan here to look at a very few data points so that I can show you how the plan works and how we're able to validate against the plan. So this is a little plan for a video content delivery app. And I want to show you these two events. One is for a content view, and the other is for an ad impression. And we want to be able to collect this data across all kinds of different platforms. Now, any video app, you're going to have viewers that are using your platform on a smart TV app, on a phone, in the web browser, and one user is going to use the app on multiple screens. So we really want to have that content being collected the same way across every platform so that we can actually bring it together and analyze it as one. So I'm just going to drill down. This is the simplest way of collecting a data point for this content view event here. All I'm really saying here is this is an event that I want to collect, and this exact string is the way that I want to collect it. I can actually define more things about a data point. I'm going to expand this ad impression event to show you a little more. When I collect an ad impression, I also want to collect specific attributes of that event. And I'd have a lot, but for the purposes of this demo, I've just created one attribute, which is a content ID. And as you can see here, I can say what data type I want that content ID to be, and I can define an expected value for it, which I'll show you in just a moment. And I can also check this box here, required, and I can say that content ID is a required attribute. That means that every time I collect an ad impression event, I must have this attribute content ID. The other piece of the other data point I've added here is for some user attributes that I want to collect. One attribute I want to collect is for some demographic matching of my users, is their zip code. Now I've said here this wants to be a string, but I've also defined actually what I want to collect as a zip code and what kind of values are acceptable to me. Obviously, if I want a zip code like a value like Chicago is not any good. So there's a few ways that you can define expected values here. One is that you can choose matches one of, and you can actually provide a list of values. And so this is great for, like, example, if my app had specific categories or genres of videos, I could provide a list of 10, 12 genres and only accept values that were one of the list. For something like a zip, I can actually provide a standard regular expression. And what this one actually just checks is that I've got essentially 5 numbers. It looks a little bit scary, but you can easily find regular expressions for most things you want to match, like a phone number or an email address, that can help you determine that a value you're collecting is actually conforming to what you want. I'm going to come back to this data plan in a moment. But now I'm going to actually send some data in so that we can see validation against this data plan happening. And to do that, I'm going to use mParticle's live stream. I'm just going to clear this so that we start with a fresh slate. Okay. And what this is going to do is show all of our development data as it's received by the platform. And so I'm just going to show you here, I'm going to send in a few events. We could do this in any way, but just to show you quickly and easily, I'm going to use the Postman app to send in some events via our HTTP event API. And this is some simple JSON that is in our standard mParticle format. And as you remember, we wanted to collect a content view event. But as some of you might know, if you leave all your data teams to their own devices, there's all different kinds of ways that you can write something out. Each language has their own kind of conventions for how they like to key things. You might use Pascal case, snake case, camel case, and usually all engineers are going to default to keying things the way that they're used to. And if you don't have a really firm plan, even so for myself, like a weird thing that I do, if I'm instrumenting an SDK or capturing like clicks or actions that are happening in real time in a browser, I'll tend to use the present tense. Whereas if I'm sending something from the server side, I tend to think about it in the past tense. So I might say view content in the browser, whereas I might say viewed content if I'm doing it from the server. It's so easy to make those kind of mistakes. But to a system, of course, these are all just unique strings. So it's really important when you're collecting data from multiple places that you call your data points the same thing all the time. So here I've collected this content view, but as you can see, I've done this in snake case, and it's going to be different to how it is in my plan. So I'm going to send that event in, and I'm also going to send an add impression event. And this one I've named correctly, but you can see that it's missing the attribute that we need. So I'm going to send that one too. And now when we look at these in the live stream, you can see that they all have these little X's against them. And this is the way we're able to tell that they are in violation of our data plan. And if I actually drill into each of these events, we can see why. So in the side panel here, we can see that this event content view is unplanned. So I actually don't have an event in my data plan called content view, at least not exactly like this. If I go up a little more, I can see that I've always also tried to collect a zip for this user, but I've just got way too many digits in it. That's clearly not a zip. It doesn't match the regular expression that I provided. So that's throwing another error here, showing me that like I'm doing something wrong when I'm setting my zip code. And another error again with this add impression event. You can see that the name of the event is right, but as we go down here to our custom attribute section, you can see that we're actually missing a required attribute that we need. So I can go back to my plan and actually check what's going on. So if I go in back to Postman and I fix these mistakes that I found, so now I've changed my event to content view, and in my user attributes down here, I've also fixed how I'm sending in my zip, and I send that again. And I update my add impression event to add that content ID that I need. I'm going to send that again. And you can see now that everything is coming up with these green ticks, meaning that these are events that are part of my data plan. And I've actually been able to find that they're actually matching all the requirements that I've set up for them. So that's just a really simple demonstration of what we're doing here. But as you can see, as you add more platforms and more events, it's really important that everything is the same and everything is correct. Otherwise, I won't be able to lump all this data together and compare it and get accurate results. And just to go back briefly to the plan, if you're in charge of data quality for this app, I can actually drill into this plan and I can see, a report of all the unique violations that have happened into this app. And I can also see, like, for all of my points coming in, how many have had violations and how many have been valid, and then how many unique violations. So that means, like, you tend to repeat a problem over and over again when you're collecting data at scale. So this unique violations section tells me, like, how big of a problem do I really have to fix? Then I can drill down by data point, and we can see each of these mistakes I made. Here's my zip that I'm correcting incorrectly. And you can see that I've collected 27 of those just while I've been setting up this demo. And for my add impression, I've been missing my custom attribute that I need. And here's my content view, which is an unplanned event that's not in my data plan. So here we have basically a one-stop shop where I can view everything that I've been collecting, validated against my plan to see what's correct, what's incorrect, and exactly where I need to go to fix it.